The Party in the Back podcast is brought to you by the store at GameOps.com, the home of game operations tools and toys like prize chutes, chuck-a-pucks, t-shirt launchers, and confetti. Make your show scream with everything you need. Available now at thestore.gameops.com.
Welcome to the Party in the Back podcast. If sports marketing was a mullet, the business in the front would be forecasting budgets and measuring ROI, but the party in the back of that mullet would be French aliens playing the drums, teams celebrating referees, and disco dancers and lighthouses that make you stay late for the game. And we are here for that fun side of sports marketing on the Party in the Back. I'm your host, John Kudo. We are pulling the curtain back on how the most memorable game day moments are made. For more than 35 years, I've been immersed in the world of sports presentation, from mascot performances to producing large-scale events. I've worked at that intersection of strategy and spectacle. I bring experience from college to the NBA with global brands like Nike and WWE, and now I'm focused on shaping the systems, the content, and the community that bring fan experiences to life at GameOps.com. We're a hub for ideas, tools, and conversations in the GameOps world. On this monthly podcast, we talk with the people building the fun side of sports, like fan activation, stadium storytelling, and creating lasting memories for fans. It's a fun episode with Rob Wicall this month. We talk a lot about the San Antonio Spurs, their fan supporter group, the Jackals, a new post-game tradition, and more. Plus circus timeouts, performer insights, old referee stories, and more. Before we go to Rob, I wanted to talk about the sad news this week, the passing of the original Jazz Bear, Jon Apsey. Jon was a friend for over 35 years who's been battling pancreatic cancer. Rob and I recorded this just before Jon passed. I love that Jon actually got a shout out during the podcast for what was really one of his lasting legacies. He started the NBA Mascot Conference, which became the summer centerpiece of NBA mascots sharing, growing, and improving. On and off the court, the world was a better place because Jon was in it, and he will be missed. I'm sure we'll talk more about Jon on the podcast in the near future. I hope you enjoy the talk with Rob this month, and don't forget to check out the homepage on GameOps.com. We feature our article on the Huddle 2.0 fan supporter sections, which we talk about with Rob. We take a deeper dive with those fan supporter sections with insights with teams like the Vancouver Canucks, Milwaukee Bucks, Columbus Crew, and a special visit from Claudio Castagnoli. If you've not watched this, you definitely need to take a look. But let's get the party started with our guest, Rob Wicall. Coming back one more time, hopefully more than one more time, Rob Wicall, former Spurs Coyote, mascot for 20 plus years. And this intro is copped totally from his excellent book, Philosophy. As a lifelong student of human interaction, Rob Wicall has obsessed over creating impactful connections for millions of people as an actor, a water skier, a stuntman, a mascot, and an entrepreneur. Rob enjoys sharing these experiences, unwrapping those lessons learned with anyone who will listen, and I will listen to you, Rob Wicall, anytime. Welcome back to the Party in the Back.
Hey, do you know something I don't know, John? This is my last time.
No.
Is something about to happen?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
You know,
let me know the date. I'd like to plan.
We take feedback about all our guests, and if the feedback crosses a little threshold, we don't need to have that guy.
Did my wife send another note to you?
Well,
She
yes.
hates me.
She is a listener, that's for sure.
That's probably how I'm going to go.
Yeah.
I've noticed my coffee tastes a little different lately.
Getting voted off the island here. Welcome back. I'm excited to talk a little shop.
Thanks,
the Party in the Back, we try to spray it out, get a few different guests, but I like coming home to you because I love just talking shop with you. We have a bunch of topics this month, mostly based on some water coolers we've been accumulating over the last month and a half. And I wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit and just chat them out a little bit, which does a couple things. There's lots of insights. And then on top of that, it steers people to look at the water coolers, right?
Well, I've always said you put out a lot of content, John, and
Too much? Would you say too much?
people would. I did not say that, but I would just say if people would engage with that content more, it makes their job easier.
Mm-hmm.
I I just think not enough people do, and I wish they would because hey, you if you just read a few of those, you're like, oh, it'll spark an idea for some
Yeah.
game director, right, or some mascot and somebody in the biz. It just makes your life easier than like, okay, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna just read some of your content?
And I love now that we've done this for a long time on GameOps.com. So we have like this plethora of information. So for example, Star Wars nights. If you're doing a Star Wars night, yeah, everyone does Star Wars nights. Um, we have it all in one
You probably
place.
have 10 examples of Star Wars
We'll
nights
probably have a
and how
hundred
to do it
examples of Star
right.
Wars nights. And so,
Yeah.
like, if you're doing that,
Oh,
you just pop it up, do a quick search. A lot of them we have, they link through. So it is a great resource, and we're really proud of that. So again, anytime we can utilize that all that work we've done over the years, I love it. And again, picking your brain and expanding upon it is even better. So let's dive in.
well, let's
Well,
talk about some things, some ideas that people haven't thought of.
so an idea that came out of your neck of the woods has a couple of topics that I wanted to pick at. Last month we did a water cooler called SKOL Wemby. Victor Wembanyama. It's too early to pronounce his name. We'll call him Wemby. Um, they started a new tradition in San Antonio. Big drum, which probably happens to be your old drum. Victor comes out at the end and starts a little drum beat with all the players on the court. Fans stick around for it. Let's talk about a few things here. First of all, the new tradition, how they trained fans and are training fans to be a part of it. I want to talk a little bit about the Jackals, which I know you know about, and how that relates. And like I said, there's some depth here with what we've talked about on GameOps.com in the past. So let's dive in. First of all, tell us about this new tradition.
Well, I would say if I'm going to talk about the drum, then the Jackals go hand in hand because Wimby, of course, is French. And so he grew up around European sports, which, as we all know, are much more driven by the fans. And so he's really trying to create an atmosphere at the Spurs arena that resembles more of a European soccer match, right? And that's fans chanting, um, fans having drums, fans making noise. And so he personally came up with this idea for a group of super fans called the Jackals, and he ran the auditions and picked, I want to say it's probably 30 people, and they're dressed up, they're making noise, they've got chants. And so I've actually been to a game and
Mm,
sat next to them, and they hand out sheets of paper with their chants, with the words. So what they're trying to get people around them to understand what they're doing. And so it will grow. Um, so it's become a big part of the game experience. In fact, when the Spurs were in the NBA Cup, playing in Vegas and they were in the finals against the New York Knicks, the Spurs flew the Jackals
mm.
to Las Vegas because they want a little home court advantage there.
I love it. And speaking of
Yeah.
related content, I'm going to link on GameOps.com on the podcast page here, or you can come check us out anytime. We had a Huddle 2.0 fan supporter sections, which is exactly what this is, how they started, who's doing them, where it came from. A lot of great examples. It's exactly what you said. A lot of this comes from European soccer. And if you've seen MLS games, a lot of those teams have these now. It hasn't really hit with NBA and NHL as much, but there are examples out there. The Bucks and Vancouver Canadians. Is that right? Yeah. Canucks. Sorry, Vancouver Canucks.
Nuts.
Total brain fart there. It's early, Rob.
I
They have
agree.
one, so a lot of these teams have them. Teams like the Columbus Crew and the Seattle Seahawks also lean into the crowd being part of the show, and I think it's just awesome, and it's really untapped in a lot of sports.
So another thing, and I want to go back to what you're saying and tapping into that and the pros and cons of it because I'm curious as to your take on it. But also, as you mentioned, there's one of those oversized drums that I had when I was Coyote. Current Coyote has used it as well. But Victor wanted to do something post game to celebrate a win. And so he basically does what I used to call an a cappella clap, where there's no music or anything, but it's slow.
Hmm.
He does a double, boom, 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 and then faster, boom, 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 right? And he has
Hmm.
everybody over their hands clap in the crowd. The first time he did it, if you link to, I think there's an Instagram where he gets on a mic, explains what he wants to do, gets the crowd to do it. But what's fun about that is the Spurs are a young team, so they're all into it. And of course, their leader is the one who's spurred this idea. See what I
I
did
see
there?
what you did there.
So when there is a victory at home, they wheel that drum out now. The entire team stays out.
Hmm.
And I don't even know if it's Wemby that hits it every time. I think other players now are doing it.
They rotate that
Correct?
around. Yep.
Yes. They rotate that around. So the whole team stays out after a victory. Nobody goes to the locker room until that drum piece is done, which is so unique
It's
for
awesome.
NBA players, right? But shows, first of all, the character of these players, and then what they're creating is really this culture of togetherness and camaraderie, and so pretty special for the Spurs and unique in the
I
NBA.
it's so valuable. A lot of teams spend a lot of time creating video pieces and trying to show off player personality, sometimes in a forced way, sometimes playing games, like a lot of the fun videos you see on social media and in arena. And this to me is like the ultimate use of that, where you're like, and again, in this case, Wemby was the one driving, which is amazing, having like your leader do that. But when you show those players bonding and how important that community is amongst them, again, that's a total draw for fans. Then they want to stay because they want to be part of this. Anytime you're paying a ticket, you want to come be a part of something. And this is almost like that invitation. Stay late with us because we're celebrating together. And I love when you have a team that's successful as well as this team is right now. I mean, they're growing leaps and
Yeah, I think
bounds way ahead of
yes.
schedule. And you noted the teams that kind of like bond in that way. The other team in the league right now who's doing that is OKC, where if you see the post game interviews, it's not the player of the game. It's literally every single player stays. They huddle around. They're kind of clowning on guys. They clown on the announcers asking questions. But again, if you want player personality, that's totally it, and they're driving it. It's not forced. So if
It's
you can,
authentic, right? It's
yes,
not
totally
forced.
authentic.
Such a difference. Which, by the way, is so funny because, of course, their GM Sam Presti is a product of the
Of
Spurs.
course,
So they do a lot of things so similarly, and it's not a surprise that those two teams are first and second in the West.
of course.
So, right? Isn't that interesting?
It's awesome. And when you see, those guys come together and like in a way, like the game presentation didn't go to them like, listen, we want you to stay late and do this all together. But again, you're giving them that forum, and when they do it, you encourage it, you grow it. And I think that's a lesson for people who work in game presentation is like when it's organic, let it happen and then attach to it and try to like build it and extend it. So I think those are all great lessons from San Antonio, from Oklahoma City, from those player personalities like Wemby and SGA.
Yeah, I'll be curious if this younger generation of NBA players, if this becomes a thing where they all start
Mm,
doing it because they're seeing it done, and it'll sort of change the face of the NBA
it becomes what
slowly
you
to
do.
be right. It'll be those players are just much more accessible,
Yeah.
and I feel like for so many years they've been put behind the curtain, and they just come out and play, and people want to know them. That's a driver. Think about how many stadiums have you been to that people are gone by the midway through the fourth,
Right.
right? That they're changing that culture in San Antonio where people are going to stay specifically of the chance for a win, right? They're about to get a W, even if it's close or not, they're going to stick around for that moment to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I think about teams
So
like the Carolina Hurricanes and their storm surge. I mean, that's a thing. Like if you're in this, if it's 3-2 in the third period and you have a chance to either win or like tie and go ahead, you want to stay because you're like, I gotta see the storm surge. And I think that's such an important piece for that culture for fan engagement, fan buy-in. It reminds me, Rob, of the book and the author Josh Behagen, who wrote The Amazing Baseball Adventure, where he went to 101 baseball stadiums and experienced what they did. And right at his home, he had the Portland Sea Dogs are in his backyard. He would go to the games, and they have this tradition of the lighthouse rising up at the end of the game when they win. And his son went to multiple games, never saw it, and it was like, Dad, we have to stay. We might win this game. And again, it's like when when those elements become part of the tradition of the game, that's a really special piece in terms of connecting with your audience, connecting with the crowd, and in like we talked about, staying, like making people stay for the end, building that fandom, making that part of the whole experience.
One of them that I've always loved is the Boston Celtics when
Gino.
they're blowing away a team. Yeah. Um, and I've always thought that's fun, gets people dancing, having a good time, but also keeps them in the stadium, even if you're blowing out a team, which most people are going to cut out. And so I've always thought that
Yeah.
that holds so many opportunities. So let's talk real quick about pros and cons of this European sports. As a performer or as this a game presentation professional, how do you handle this best? So I mean, obviously it's going to happen. Do you facilitate? Do you just push a lot in between? Do you build it to make it bigger? As a mascot, are you hurt by this and you need to do more, or do you what are your thoughts on when the players are the game presentation a little bit more?
Mm. Again, I think as a performer, you lean in, you try to like leverage that connection, whether it's a
Do you
fan
feel
group.
like you've lost some value though because you're not?
I think it depends on how you treat it, but again,
Hmm.
like I look at Milwaukee and and how their fan section, and again, they have their own thing, but that's where you go in and kind of try to be a part of it. If they have a chant or a song that they're trying to lead, maybe you have a costume that parallels that. You can go in and kind of like almost like, hey, now we're going to do this chant because I'm up here to be a part of your show. And again, leveraging what they do well, I think is a really smart thing as a performer, whether it's another
Hmm.
entertainment group, whether it's the players, whether it's a fan group, is trying to find that piece that you can sort of like latch on to a little bit, not in a way to like, be a parasite from it, but latch on to enhance what they're doing and then become part of it. In the same way, that's what they're trying to do is like create that community. We'll go be a part of that.
Yeah. So I've thought about it. If I was still a mascot and this was occurring in my arena, how would I handle this?
Mm,
And I've thought one is yes, if they're hitting drums, then I want to go get a bigger drum, right? And I want to be a part or talk to them about they're on one side of the arena. Let me take the other side
mm,
and let's battle against each other now, right? So we have
yeah.
these jackals and we have the coyotes, basically, right? Like, let's make it a thing and grow it. So when I'm over here, we're going to do X and we'll do that once every other, let's figure it out and see how it plays and find what's successful. So I don't lose value. I don't lose I always consider the coyote the orchestrator, right? He's the conductor of crowd interaction. So I want to make sure whatever's happening, I have a little part.
Right.
I'm the guy. So in other words, even if they're doing their own thing, I'm going to come out in a tux and I'm going to pretend like I'm orchestrating it. I have nothing to do with their stuff, but I want to make it look like I'm the guy who made it happen to continue to keep elevate the character and not to lose too much.
I think that's so important, again, just to connect yourself with those groups, with those other entertainment acts. So I did some consulting with the University of St. Thomas about their mascot program. They have a crew at football games called the Caruso Crew, and they're like an interactive team. It's connected with their coach. And again, the fans totally buy in. They kind of lead chants, they lead some things in the crowd, these moments in the crowd. And Tommy, their mascot, wasn't really a part of it. And they're trying to build up Tommy. And I'm like, you have to embrace them and almost kind of leverage their popularity into your own. And not that you're trying to steal their spotlight, but you're trying to like stand in their spotlight, if you will. And so what we did when we were talking about what the mascot does at the games, I'm like, go lean in, take a part of that. So he had a costume that kind of matched what they did and what they wore. And he went out there, and again, they love it, not because you're trying to steal their spotlight, you're trying to grow their spotlight. And that's the kind of leverage you're talking about, where they have that thing, you're not competing with them. They're not taking away your shine. You're building on the whole show. And I think that's a really key point for a mascot and really for any team. If you have a drum line that's doing like amazing things, like it makes sense for your dancers to join in a drum beat or a drum clap or be part of something they do. It just grows it. It's not this isn't a pie that you're taking away a slice. You're growing the pie.
Yeah, that's really a fundamental question of game presentation that I've always felt is missed by a lot of teams. So
Mm.
you'll see what I would call a circus happening sometimes, that there's so many things happening
Hmm.
all over because they just are, let's just throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. Versus if you think of a circus, they have three rings and each ring has its moment, right?
Hmm.
And you want to focus, let the crowd know what, where, and what you want them to watch at whatever time. So, yes, if you are doing the drum line, why not have the players or have the dancers there too? You're just growing that moment and letting everybody know this is where to look. This is what's happening right now. I was really interested in Vegas. If you watch that NBA Cup when they were playing in the NBA, that they would lower the lights in the crowd at times, right? So you just had the court, and I always enjoy that because it gives that feel, right, of a circus, and because they turn the lights off on those other two, and you just see lights on that one ring while it's doing its thing. You're telling the crowd where to look.
Right,
And
right.
I found that always to be so important in as a mascot that I wanted to one be a part, right, and show that I'm this orchestrator, but also be a part of whatever was happening. I don't want to be off doing something else because I'm belittling the character or I'm just throwing focus and making it confusing.
Right.
I want to make sure we're focusing at all times. So if it was that drum line, I have nothing to do with it. I'll just walk out before them and be like, come on out, right? That's all I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Come on out. Good job, guys. High five. And I'm out, but I'm acting like I'm orchestrating.
Right,
I'm
right.
just being a little part, just keeping my hands in everything.
Well,
So it looks like he's something.
and on top of that, you're enhancing what they do. They're not
Right.
just
And
walking
it's,
out there.
yeah, I
The
used to always
coyote's
say
leading them out there.
when the
That's a
coyote
different thing.
danced with the dancers, John, I would dance with the dancers about once a month. And you could hear an audible difference when the coyote danced with the
Sure.
dancers, right? There was more interest. And I used to say, it's not I'm taking away from them. I'm legitimizing and building their
Yeah,
fan base, right? That people are going to watch more. So it was good for all of us.
for sure.
People were like, wow, the coyote could dance. And they were also watching the dancers more so. So I feel like any opportunity to do that is a good use of those assets.
So one more thing I want to talk about with the Wemby piece, which in the title of the article, the post, the water cooler post, I called it SKOL Wemby. And SKOL is a reference to the Minnesota Vikings and their famous chant of SKOL, which is actually exactly the same as what Wemby's doing. And we talked about this a little bit offline. Or Wemby isn't copying that. Again, he comes from a culture where the Vikings probably got that from something else. No one invents anything anymore. And so is that okay? That he's leveraging, borrowing, copying, or maybe he had no idea and it just happens to be exactly the same. Is that okay, or is that like, well, they should have done their own thing? Where do you stand?
Well, interesting you say that because when I first started mascotting, I hoarded all my ideas. Um, and speaking of offline, it was John Apsey,
Hmm.
the old Utah Jazz Bear, that used to give me a hard time about it. And he would say, bring your ideas to the table and let others share, right? Let others be a part of that. And all you're doing is bringing everybody up. Hoarding your ideas is not the right way to think about this because if the Portland Trailblazer mascot does your bit, there's nobody in Portland that's saying, well, I was in
Wait
San
a
Antonio
minute.
and saw.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
it's total separate crowds, right? So why not help Portland and let Portland help you? He's gonna right there.
Yep.
So once I embraced that, I really too things. One, got ideas from other guys. Even if it wasn't exactly what I did, it just sparked
Yeah.
something that I was able to run with. But two, I really enjoyed sharing those. I really enjoy, in fact, now as not being a mascot, I love when somebody calls and is like, I got an idea, let's run it. Help me formulate a real
Yep.
skit. I love still getting to use those creative juices and be a part of that. And it keeps me a little bit in the game, if you will. So I enjoyed sharing those ideas. And here I would call afterwards, how'd it go?
Mm.
I'm curious as to how your crowd reacted to you trying to do the same thing that I did. And, so I really came to enjoy that. And I think that's what has helped all sports is people sharing. Because I can go to some other city, some other sport than San Antonio Spurs and see something and go, I know where that, like, I see what they're doing here because I've
Right.
seen it in other, or I used to do a twist of that, some version thereof. And I really find that to be fun. And it's helped all sports.
For sure. And what I think is important of what we're doing with water coolers and with the site, and like you said, with conferences, is sharing those ideas because it just makes everybody stronger. And like you see something that happened in Milwaukee, you see something that happened in Philadelphia, and you're like, hey, I can take something of that, and hopefully you're making it your own, or maybe sometimes you're taking it straight. But again, it's kind of growing your repertoire, creating new things for your fan base. And granted, now on social media, yeah, you might see something more than you would have 20 years ago. You will, but at the same time, that's not a bad thing. And if you make it your own, kind of
Yeah, I don't
recraft
think
it
it's
into
that
your own.
widespread.
Yeah.
It's not like ESPN is reporting on the mascot skits around the league. You're not losing anything. Um, but it definitely is fun to see all these similarities. So I think the Minnesota Vikings, by the way, I mean, yes, that was done so many years ago. Basically, this fast clap kind of thing,
For
right?
sure.
This uh, has been done so probably before we even know about it. It's
Before
probably a
time.
vaudeville, yeah, thing. So other teams taking it and making it their own. If I went to a Minnesota Vikings game, I wouldn't be, I would enjoy it
Right,
because
right.
it's their own version, and the Spurs, the same thing.
Right. And then sometimes too, then you get a little compare and contrast where you're like, oh, I could make ours better if I did this, or if our host, did this element. And I love those little tweaks that you see. Even when two people do the same thing, you can be like, hey, the impact it had, or the timing that way changed, or again, the focus, the lighting, whatever elements it is that you're bringing to the table and kind of finessing yours. And that's what I think the important thing is too. When you make it your own, you're putting your own spin, you're adding your own creativity, you're adding your own little nuance to it. And again, those are how ideas go from good to great.
Yeah, speaking of doing your own thing, I'd love to talk about some water coolers and specifically cities who do their own, right? They make a presentation and they make a game night their own that's specific to their city because I always love when they make it specific to their culture.
Well, there was a great one last when was this one? January 8th. The Toledo Walleye had a fishing night. What did they call it? Well, hooked on fishing night. And at first glance, it just looks like a minor league hockey team doing a custom jersey. It's got the outdoor vest on with some hooks and that kind of thing. But then you think
Yeah,
about it a
if you
little,
link to it, it's a really funny jersey.
the jerseys are great,
I love that
and
jersey.
what I
Looks like
love
an old man fishing, right? Like
exactly, it's got
plaid
the
shirt,
plaid shirt underneath it.
the
But again,
vest with the
this
hooks
is
in it.
this is the walleye. This is what they do. Toledo's on Lake Erie. This is what they do. This is who they are. And I think it's such a great twist on kind of that classic minor league rebrand in a way. But this is their brand. This is just fishing. And we've talked in the past about that secret handshake where you're talking to your fans in a way that they understand. And so I think this even to us, we look as an outsider, we're like, oh, that's kind of a funny, quirky jersey. To the Toledo people, this is kind of like this is life. This is their brand, and it's a huge nod to who they are as a community. And I just love that promotion because again, it's like a connection within their own community.
Yeah, it's brand. Yeah, the brand is the Walleyes, for crying out loud. It's the team name. So they just leaned into that. What about, and I can't remember the team name that did the ref jerseys, which I liked as well. Now, it's not necessarily specific to a city, but I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that the team wore ref jerseys. It's almost a little, right, sarcastic that we want to give the refs some love.
Little ref appreciation night, and this gained some
That's right.
popularity with the Vancouver Giants a couple years ago. They I think it was a best of Game Ops award winner where the players all wear ref jerseys, which is hilarious. The referees have to wear something alternate, otherwise they look like the team, but it gives the referees a little love. And the team shop in both cases sold some referee gear like I love referees, respect the stripes, or just the classic ref you suck. And so again, it's a way to kind of connect and bond and give a little nod to the men in black and white, which I think is great. That's a great promotion. That one this year was with the Flint Firebirds up in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, I love that. I would, if I was still a mascot, I think I would just do that on my own, where I just spend a night and everything is just super nice to the refs, right? I've given them, my skit is super nice for them. I'm getting chants going. Like, I love, you know,
Oh, that's
whoever the guy
great.
is. I love Jess Kersey.
Little
That would
Jess
be
Kersey
fun.
shout out. Okay. Little Ed
Yeah.
Middleton. I've got some Ed
Yeah,
Middletons.
little Ed Middleton, little Dick Pavetta.
Can I tell an Ed
Um,
Middleton story?
is it appropriate?
No.
Excellent. Please then.
So Ed Middleton, back in the day in Minnesota, the referee locker room was literally attached to my locker room. So there was a swing door that went between them, so they could be like the dual locker rooms. And a lot of nights that door would be open. So I would have an open door with the referee, which is crazy now because they would never do that.
Right,
Anyway,
right.
Ed Middleton one time, and we were friendly. He would come in and say hi and stuff when he came to town. Great dude. He came in one night. In the meantime, I had someone there for a ref skit. So I have my friend there. He's going to dress like a referee. And the protocol is you just kind of go, hey, we'd like to do this tonight. Is that okay? So you do a little dance with the
Yeah.
referees. Is that okay? This is what we have in mind, and kind of seek their approval essentially. And it's a little tighter now, but back in the day, especially when your team is losing by 30 most nights, it's pretty much okay. Anyway, so Ed would often knock on the door and say hi and ask if we were doing anything. And this night he walks in at Middleton. He just got out of the shower. He has a towel over his shoulder and he's buck naked. And he stops in to say hello. In the meantime, in my locker room, it's me and my assistant and like our crew, like court crew is there. So we have probably three guys in there. And my friend is going to dress up like the referee and his girlfriend. And so Ed walks in, towel over his
Yeah.
shoulder, expecting it to be me and my handler and to say hello, buck naked. He looks around the room, kind of catches the fact that there's a young lady in the room, doesn't phase him, stands there and talks for another 5 minutes to us, tells him the story.
He leaned into it. I appreciate
Totally
that.
leaned into it. So yeah, so that's one of my favorite Ed memories. Uh so
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's the little Ed
That's a good
Middleton, Jess
mascot bit,
Kersey.
by the way. I've known some mascots to do things like that, but
That is a good off-court mascot bit.
not necessarily refs.
We've taken a turn here. Ref Appreciation Night led right to naked Ed Middleton stories. Okay, so let's
So let me ask you,
yeah, yeah.
John, real quick. Are you a fan of all the jerseys? Do you think it helps, or do you think it's just merchandise sales and a team trying to make money?
Well, I think there's two answers there. The rotation, it is just a money grab and a lot and which is okay. I mean, that's part of what sports is. Fans love the jerseys, Rob. And so whether it's if it's an NBA team who often lean in a little bit of like alt colors, throwback jerseys, those kind of things, that can be a serious revenue driver. And again, most NBA teams now have like 4 or 5 jerseys every year. And again, that's just a team shop rotation. Fans are buying in the colors, the different jerseys. And in the minor leagues, again, you're leaning into these different brandings. So again, the Flint Firebirds, when they're doing Ref Appreciation Night, they're selling that referee gear, they're selling referee jerseys, they're auctioning off the in-game worn jerseys by the players. That again, every hockey fan wants to have that. If you go to if you go to the Rampage, no longer there, but if you go to a Rampage game, there's going to be like you'll see dozens of fans who are wearing
Right.
the throwback jerseys that are like the real jerseys they bought at auction. So again, it
Right.
you could look at it as a money grab, but it's also, again, it's a way of building community. It's a way of kind of like the bragging rights of, I bought that guy's jersey, I bought the mascots jersey from Referee Appreciation Night, or from the Party in Pink, or whatever you call your breast health awareness night. And so I think that those can be a really interesting, good addition. So do I love them? I think sometimes you can go, yeah, money grab, but also like, yeah, that's kind of what this is. It's a business.
You don't think it dulls
Is
down
it
the
bastardize?
bastardizing the real, like I miss just sheer black and silver and white, like Spurs sometimes when they wear other stuff. But I understand it. And I think I'm also just an old man who's grumpy sometimes, right? But
Well, there's some clouds outside. If you want to go yell at them, we can take a quick break.
yeah. But I also enjoyed some of them, and then some of them I'm like, okay,
Yeah. It
what,
can be hit or miss.
why? There's no real. I think that's what it is when there's not like the walleyes. There, I like that one. The refs, I like
Yeah.
that one. There's some meat behind the bone there.
Yeah, there's a
But
there there.
sometimes it's like we're just gonna wear a different color tonight,
I think
and I'm like, I
it
don't
gives teams a
understand.
chance to experiment, which I think is valuable too. And I'm interested to see if a team takes what they've learned from some of these jerseys and starts to lean into it. And I'll give you a quick example. If the Washington Wizards rebranded, or if they just said, "Hey, in 3 years we're going to do a new jersey," they stumbled upon a jersey based on their city edition that was so popular that I sort of wonder if they won't lean into that, the color scheme. It's the blossoms from in the spring when the I don't know what blossoms
Cherry
are.
blossoms,
Cherry
cherry
blossom, thank you.
blossoms. Yeah,
And they have this beautiful kind of pinkish jerseys that were wildly popular. I mean, people love them. And they I'm sure they
cherry
sold
blossoms
really
is a
well.
big deal in DC.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
in the
And
spring,
which, by
man.
the way, my allergies did not like at all. I would not like to see in the
Oh,
spring.
well,
But
grow up
again,
and be a man.
if thank you, if they learn something from that, and then in some ways it's just a test case for these teams of like, hey, what colors do our fans like? What part of
Yeah,
our
what
local
hits?
traditions really hit? And I think teams are learning valuable lessons for down the road based on these like kind of off the wall concepts, or sometimes just their city edition jerseys. So again, it's like a chance for teams to really learn.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Well,
appreciate that.
let's do one more. I'm gonna let you pick because we've prepped. We did a lot of prep. Do we let the people in and let them know how much time we spend on this?
No, never.
We can talk about the Oilers,
Yeah, I want to talk about one more.
World of Warcraft. We can talk about Bernie
World of
Brewer.
Warcraft. And I'll tell you why I want to
Do
talk
it,
about
do
it
it,
is
take it.
because I have no idea what, I mean, like I get the game when you read an article about it, but I've never played it. I don't know anything about it. But I always appreciate when there's a themed night that sort of takes over. It's not just a promotion or two, it takes the building over.
Yeah,
And they really change the entire uh, image that evening. And that's what this World of Warcraft night does for the Edmonton Oilers.
it is, and I'll give you the example based on Star Wars. I watch Star Wars. I get all the references. I could probably write a good Star Wars night. I get it. World of Warcraft, I have no idea what that is. None. But however, World of Warcraft, I could say it, his massive popularity. It's a video game. It has millions and millions of fans. So you're tapping into something really substantial with World of Warcraft. Again, I don't get it. But so when I walk into the game, I may not get the references, but part of that joy is discovering something new. But again, the Oilers are trying to tap into a different fan base and sort of ignite the passions of a different fan base, bring them into the Oilers experience and be like, "Hey, I had a great time. Live hockey's really cool." And again, that's broadening your fan base and you're speaking their language, you're connecting with a different fan base. So I think these are really important nights when done well. And the Oilers did a great job. It's like, again, their in-game show, whether it's the graphics, whether it was like the team intros in the crowd, the cosplay, the costumes, all that, they really got some mileage out of this, and again, reached out to these different fans. So go ahead.
Well, what I think I really was special about that night is it was actually a sponsor was World of Warcraft, right?
Hmm.
They were coming out with a new version. So it was driven by the actual game maker, and they wanted to tap into a different crowd. So
Right.
it was a win-win for both of them. And so there's never been a Star Wars night that George Lucas backed, right? The Star Wars itself isn't necessarily, it's just teams doing it. But this was actually driven by the manufacturer. So I can only imagine how great that night was.
Right. Yeah. They're again, we talked about how you're leveraging to reach out to those other fans if you're the hockey team. It was the other way around on this one as well, where World of Warcraft's like, hey, we can tap into some hockey fans by showcasing what we do,
Right.
which
And I'm sure they're thinking there's got to be some gamers out here
for
that
sure.
aren't playing World of Warcraft. Let's introduce them to World of Warcraft.
And to sew
I'm
this
sure
back
that
into what
happened.
we talked about before, like it's finding those examples of little nuances where this doesn't equate exactly to World of Warcraft, but like the way Star Wars has integrated into sports, whether it's first pitches, jerseys, merchandise, giveaways, all those kind of things. That's the kind of thing where if you're building your World of Warcraft, you go look at Star Wars nights and say, what are they doing? Where's the inches that they're finding all around the stadium? And how do we make this connect in all those different ways, whether it's something the ushers give away or the ushers wear or at the gates? How are they greeting fans? And where do we, how do we tap into like the cosplay, the people who dress up and all those different connections? You can find those. And I'm sure that when they created the World of Warcraft nights, there's not a model for that. But you're looking at Star Wars nights, like what are they doing? And
Mhm.
that's where I think that again, tapping back into what we do at Game Ops, like that's really valuable site content where you can see what all these teams did from the different nights and then leverage that into your own.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm surprised I haven't seen, and you would know, have they done Stranger Things nights?
There have been a couple Stranger Thing nights. Again, that's not one that I'm familiar with. I don't watch that show, but that definitely is a thing. I know there's some hockey teams that have
But
done
it's a
that.
cult, right?
For sure,
And
for
that's what
sure.
you're looking for.
And I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Like that extension is when you have those nights, and I always liken this to the South Park movie and the Simpsons movie. If you watch those movies, and actually the X-Files followed the same pattern, the X-Files had a movie, right? And if you never saw X-Files, the TV show, which the whole thing's based on, whole thing is one big nod, character
Right.
extensions, all the same characters. However, if you in a vacuum walked into the X-Files movie, totally made sense because they took the steps to introduce the characters,
Mhm.
introduce the storylines, introduced kind of that world that you're entering into. And that's such an important part of this when you're doing these nights. World of Warcraft night, again, I walk in the door at the Oilers game, I wouldn't have any idea what they're talking about. And so part of that process is you have to sort of like this is what the world is. This is
Yep.
what this is in Star Wars nights. The red lightsabers are bad guys. The green lightsabers are good guys. You almost have to like introduce people at that level. And if you watch the South Park movie, if you watch the Star Wars movie, if you watch the X-Files movie, they're doing that. Every time you first see Homer, you're getting a glimpse, and it's good screenwriting. It's telling that story, who these characters are, and it's a good demonstration as to how do you build these nights. You build that with the building blocks. You're going to reward fans who see that, who know these characters, but you're also going to introduce fans and bring them into that world and make sure that they understand all that stuff, all those steps and characters in the world that you've created.
Of course. Yeah, there's layers, right? And that's what
Hmm.
makes those nights fun is you have those layers of there's the people that are really, really, really into it and the people that have no clue, but it's fun and enjoyable for
Yeah,
them.
and
And it's a change.
and I think it's really important when you build these nights that you have somebody in the room who's it's their passion. And I reference this a lot. I've probably done it many times on the podcast. The Buffalo Bisons, where they do Star Wars night. They have two guys in the office who are like passionate Star Wars nerds. They use that term of it as an endearment, but they totally get it, and they write a Star Wars night. So if you are a Star Wars fan, you're gonna go like, oh, they get this. And you have some promotions where they kind of slap it on, like, yeah, let's do Star Wars nights. I think we give away some, there's some Jedi jokes we can make. Again, a Star Wars fan's also gonna see that. And so it's important that you find somebody in the room who's passionate, who gets it, and can help tell that story, or can at least tidy up your story and make sure that it all makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. You've got to get some depth or else it's just surface and people see that.
How much of this are we gonna have to cut for time, is my question.
30, just the last 5 minutes, let's cut.
Okay.
I think we'll be all right.
Rob, I could talk shop with you days on end. It's always great. So I appreciate you coming on the Party in the Back for the February edition of the Party in the Back podcast. Anything you want to talk about? Anything else you want to say before? I'll cut it out, but you want to say anything else?
I think we're over time. No, I just appreciate being on the podcast with you as always, and hope brought some value to game ops professionals around the country.
For sure. We left some on the table too. We had a whole discussion about Bernie Brewer. We're going to talk about Culture City.
Yes, I love that backstory of Bernie Brewer.
Maybe next time we'll get on and talk about it again. Rob, I appreciate it. Hopefully people are reading the water coolers that you and I just talked about. And Monday through Friday, almost every Monday through Friday. I'm not caught up right now, but we'll get caught up. We have a water cooler post, so check those out. Find out what people are doing all around sports and why it's successful. Rob Wicall, we'll look forward to talking with you again. And I'll check the feedback, but I think we'll have you back.
Thanks, John. Bye.
Don't miss the daily water cooler on GameOps.com. Every weekday, we post a promotion, theme night, giveaway, or an activation that got people talking. Last month, we added over 20 water cooler posts. It's so important that we have a big water cooler graphic on every page just so you can find and join this conversation. Last month, at the water cooler, we looked at a G League Bill Walton tribute. Reading is hosting WWE icon Lita, a margarita-themed promotion in Providence, Lego giveaways in Boulder, and some quiet heroes from the NHL's loudest events. See everything people are talking about at the water cooler Monday through Friday on GameOps.com. That is a wrap for the February 2025 edition of the Party in the Back podcast on GameOps.com. Thank you for listening, and keep an eye out on the homepage and Twitter and Instagram for new content every week. I encourage you to visit our homepage for the latest ideas, inspirations, tools to make your show shine. Big thanks to everyone who listens, reads, and supports GameOps.com and for spreading the word about the podcast. I have a request. If you listen today, tell one person about us. Maybe it's a coworker, a mascot performer you know, or someone in your sales staff, anyone who'd enjoy hearing guests like Amanda Greco, Eric Mertens, Cameron Hughes, Robin Lopez, or even Rob Wicall. Word of mouth really helps us grow. We are available on all platforms, Apple Pod, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and of course right here on GameOps.com. Huge thanks to our producer, the very excellent Chad Gephardt, and thank you again for joining us. We'll be back again next month on the Party in the Back with more talk and analysis about that fun side of sports marketing. For my guests, Rob Wicall, and shouts out and love to Shauna, Lexi, Sydney, and Alyssa. This is John Kudo signing off, but please, let's keep the party going. Oh,
Okay,
so many edits. So cut, go refill your coffee again.